Right. So that material you sent over on business and money, it really got the gears turning. It just
Yeah.
feels like these ideas, they're running underneath so much of what we see and do.
Mm-hmm.
So for this deep dive, I thought we could really try and pull apart these business and money excerpts you shared just to get to the core ideas.
Sounds good. What's the main goal then?
Well, the aim is really to get a clearer picture together, how these business concepts affect society, how they shape this whole consumer thing we're in,
Right.
and even how it touches on like our own personal happiness.
Absolutely. And what's interesting about this particular set of notes is the variety, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty broad.
You've got everything from discussion points, like the kind you'd see for IELTS writing.
Right, those critical thinking prompts.
Exactly. All the way through to ideas about money's role in society, pros and cons, even specific vocabulary.
So it gives us a lot to work with, different angles.
Yeah, a really good chance to dissect the whole topic.
Okay, let's jump in then. Starting with this idea that seems pretty front and center in the material. Society getting more materialistic.
It does emphasize that quite a bit.
Pointing out how, so many people are always striving for the next raise, the bigger house, the flashier car. It feels like the default setting almost.
It does. And what's really key there is the connection the source makes between getting wealth, getting stuff,
Yeah.
and how people perceive happiness and success.
Ah, right. The perception.
Think about the examples given like Armani or Mercedes.
Status symbols.
Exactly. They're not just clothes or a car, are they? They signal something about achievement or, aspiration.
But is that perception always, like, accurate? That's the question it raises, I suppose.
That's a really good question. Are we chasing the feeling or just the symbol?
And the source brings up advertising here, too, as a major driver.
Definitely.
This sort of constant flow of messages telling us we needed the newest thing, the latest style.
Right? Creating desires we didn't even know we had. Sometimes subtly, sometimes not so subtly.
Persuading us that this stuff is what leads to feeling, I don't know, complete or successful.
Precisely. Advertising isn't just showing us products. It's actively, cultivating those wants.
Yeah.
And interestingly, there's research in behavioral economics about this, how even just the idea of scarcity in an ad can make us want something more, bypassing rational thought sometimes.
Wow. So it taps into something quite deep-seated then.
Yeah, it seems so. It's not just suggesting we might like something, it's leveraging our psychology.
Okay, so we have this drive towards materialism, potentially fueled by advertising. But the material you share is pretty balanced, actually.
It tries to be, yeah.
It looks at the potential upsides of this consumer culture, too, not just the negatives.
Right.
Let's start there with the potential positives. It mentions consumerism creating jobs, even helping reduce poverty. That's pretty significant, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I mean, logically, if people are buying more things,
Businesses need to make more things.
right. And that means hiring people, scaling up. It creates jobs across the board.
And potentially better wages, too.
Well, potentially. If demand for labor goes up in a healthy economy, that can push wages up and give people more opportunities, which, yeah, can help lift people out of poverty.
And it also mentioned innovation, how consumer demand fuels creativity in business.
Exactly. Companies are always competing for our attention, for our money.
So they have to keep improving, developing new stuff.
Yeah, they're incentivized to invest in R&D, make better products, find more efficient ways to do things. It's that competitive engine.
Which leads to more choice for us, I guess.
And the source connects that to the global economy, this wider availability of goods and services, potentially improving quality of life for many, access to things they wouldn't have had otherwise.
Okay, but now let's flip that coin. The source definitely doesn't ignore the downsides.
No, it doesn't.
And the environmental concerns seem pretty major. More consumption means, well, more waste, more strain on resources.
This is a huge point. The more stuff we buy, the more raw materials get used up.
Right.
And then what happens to it all afterwards? The source uses that phrase, throwaway culture.
Yeah, that stuck out.
It really captures it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Products designed to break or just replaced constantly because of trends or new tech. It leads to just mountains of waste.
And all the associated environmental damage, resource depletion, pollution.
Exactly. Significant consequences.
And this brings us back to the advertisers again, doesn't it? That feeling that they're not just selling products, but almost shaping what we value.
Yeah, it feels a bit unsettling maybe. Like how much of what we want is genuinely us
Yeah.
and how much is being, pushed on us.
Right. Manufactured desire.
Which connects directly back to that big question the source keeps circling. Does more money, more stuff actually mean more happiness?
Yeah.
The material suggests that while obviously money and consumption are huge forces, there is a lot of thought now questioning if they're the ultimate path to well-being.
Because the next point it raises is pretty stark, that this intense focus on materialism can actually fuel greed and even, in some cases, lead to crime. That's a serious potential cost.
It really is. It highlights that potential dark side. When getting stuff becomes the main goal, ethics can go out the window.
Yeah.
And it can lead to behaviors driven purely by greed, which obviously impacts society.
And the source contrasts that with, what was it? Returning to traditional values.
Yeah, sharing, community. It offers that as a different way to think about well-being, one that isn't just about individual accumulation.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. The material also had that really useful vocabulary section.
Yes, the key terms.
Let's touch on a few. Money management sounds foundational, right? Just handling your finances well.
Totally. And the example sentence was good. Learning money management prevents us from overspending and running into debts.
So to run into debts, to overspend, also key phrases there, underscores the risk of not managing money well.
Exactly. Cause and effect.
Then there was expenditure.
Right.
Just the money going out.
Right. You're spending. The example mentioned having enough for bills and other necessary expenditures. It's about balancing income and outgoings.
Got it. Then we had some more maybe aspirational phrases. Extravagant vacation, latest gadgets.
Yeah, they paint a picture of what disposable income can buy.
Yeah.
Right? Luxury travel, new tech, fashion.
Yeah.
The examples showed that clearly.
But then, crucially, the counterpoint, money cannot buy health.
A really important one.
The example about diseases that money just can't cure no matter how much you have. It's a powerful reminder of wealth's limits. And it linked to that idea of maybe trading time for money. A lack of time with family potentially leading to loneliness later on, even if you're financially successful.
Right. It really forces you to weigh things up. What might you be sacrificing?
Yeah.
These examples are great because they highlight that gap between material well-being and other crucial things. Health, relationships. You can't just focus on the money.
It might cost you elsewhere. Okay, what about those core concepts? Consumerism, materialism.
Yes, defined there. And omnipresent was an interesting word used.
How so?
The example connected it to social media, how seeing everyone else's seemingly perfect, stuff-filled lives is just everywhere, all the time.
Fueling those comparisons and desires.
Exactly, making you feel like you need more. It makes that feeling of wanting almost constant.
And globalization came up too.
Yeah, linked to the sheer variety of products now available because of it, which again feeds into that consumer culture.
More choice, more temptation.
Pretty much.
And of course, advertising again. The verb to air, like broadcasting TV shows.
The example was about companies airing unrealistic images to get us to buy things we don't really need. Underlines that persuasive, sometimes manipulative power.
Definitely. Then material possession itself. The idea that you're never satisfied.
Right, because there's always something newer or someone with more. A potential cycle of never feeling content.
Which leads right into the last one. Human values.
Yeah, and the potential clash with pure materialism. Suggesting that focusing only on getting stuff can actually damage relationships, ethics, maybe even society overall.
Wow, okay. This all connects so well with those sample essay prompts included in the material.
They really bring these tensions to life, don't they?
Yeah. The first one. Does happiness depend on money, or are other things more important?
Classic debate.
And the sample response laid out both sides, just like we've been discussing. You need some money for basics.
Right. Necessity, housing, education, the examples given.
But real happiness comes from family, relationships, non-material stuff. And it mentioned wealthy but unhappy families as a counterexample.
Exactly. It gets right to that core complexity. Money's vital for security, sure, but is it the key to happiness? Or are things like relationships, health, purpose more critical?
Good question. Then the second prompt. Enjoyable job versus high salary.
Another really interesting one.
Again, the source outlined both arguments well. Money buys a better quality of life, obviously.
The extrinsic rewards.
But job satisfaction, feeling interested in your work, that has huge value too. The intrinsic side.
And did you notice that point about people increasingly looking for jobs that fit their interests?
I did find that interesting. Suggests maybe a bit of a shift in priorities for some people.
Could be. Reflects that awareness that we spend so much time working.
Yeah.
So finding fulfillment there really matters for overall well-being. Maybe even more than just the biggest paycheck. Intrinsic rewards getting more recognition.
Makes sense. And the third one, about giving kids small weekly allowances. to teach financial capability.
Yeah, that's a thought provoker.
It brings up the pros, learning money management young, like that 2014 study on planned spending suggested.
Learning budgeting, saving.
But also the cons. Are they mature enough? Could it lead to negative influences? It's a real balancing act, isn't it?
It really is. When and how do you introduce kids to money concepts? There's potential for learning valuable skills, but also risks of misuse or unhealthy attitudes, especially with peer pressure.
Definitely tricky. And then it just briefly mentioned other prompts spending on celebrations, funding different kinds of research.
Right.
It just shows how tangled up money and business are with, well, almost everything. Personal life, society's choices, values.
Exactly. Whether it's personal budgets, government funding, or even cultural traditions around events, money and business principles are almost always in the mix somewhere.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive into the business and money material, it's really clear, isn't it? The relationship between money, consumerism, happiness, it's incredibly complex.
Yeah, multifaceted is definitely the word.
These sources you shared, they give us a really solid starting point to understand the issues, highlighting the good, the bad, the complicated.
And what's good is that it doesn't really offer easy answers, does it?
No, not at all.
It more just prompts you to think critically about your own values, your priorities, what kind of society we actually want.
Which brings me to a final thought, really, for everyone listening. Given this constant push, towards buying more, consuming more, what does a better life actually mean to you? Beyond just the stuff. And how do you personally navigate that balance, the need to be financially secure, versus staying true to your own values in this very business-driven world?
That's a deep one to end on.
Yeah, definitely something to mull over. We'd encourage you all to keep exploring these themes, maybe reflect on your own relationship with money and consumerism after our chat today.